Good afternoon, everyone. So as Fergal said, my name is Leanne Barrett. I am the project coordinator in Westport Family and Community Resource Centre in Mayo, and I'm also the chair of the Community Response to Domestic Abuse Western Regional Network. So I'm really privileged and really delighted to be able to be here with all of you today and to speak about our network, the work that we do across Galway, Mayo and Roscommon on the 25th anniversary of the FRC programme. So we're going to take a look of the FRCs in a more regional context as members of the Domestic Violence Network. So albeit today is a little bit daunting, I'm hoping that I do my colleagues in the West proud, and they've entrusted me with this task. They were fighting me for the job, but I said, no, I'll do it. Okay, so our network is just over 20 years old, so we are a little bit younger than the FRC programme. We were set up in the year 2000, and at that time the network comprised of community development projects and a support agency, West Training. And I suppose the support agency was really crucial and instrumental in the development of that network. And it's really testament to that work that 20 years on, over 20 years on, the network is still going. So it was built on a very solid foundation, a very solid ethos and the structures in place. And indeed the work of all of the people who have been part of the network over the last 20 odd years is what has it still running today. And what's really positive as well is that over the last couple of years, people who were involved and original members at the very beginning have come back. So with other organisations or services, but they have come back and they're now involved again. So the network was initiated by a group in Tuam. So there was work going on in Tuam at the time, and it was informed by women that they were working with and a piece of local research that happened all the way back in 1995. So it was informed by women, and the voices of women are what led to the establishment of the network. And that research was carried out by Tuam Community Development and Resource Centre. And also the network aimed to implement recommendations that came about as part of the National Task Force on Violence Against Women in 1997. And one of those recommendations was to have a community-based response and the need for a community-based response in addressing the issue of domestic violence. Also within that report, it recognised the role of the Community Development Programme and the role it could play in terms of prevention, in terms of support, raising awareness and providing information. And we do that today now as part of the FRC programme and in our family resource centres. And also, it's very important to acknowledge that the network back then recognised that this wasn't alone a women's issue. This was an issue for all of the community. It was a social issue, and therefore it needed a whole of community response in order to be able to tackle it. So our vision. So in 2021, we did some work on our strategic plan, and to be honest, it isn't dissimilar to what was done way back in 2000 and 2002. A lot of the principles and the working principles remain the same. So our vision as a network is the elimination of abuse against women and a society where women have equality, respect and safety, and they're free from control. So it is our priority to end gender-based violence and to work to create a society where women and children do not have to live in fear of violence, abuse or coercive control. And that really underpins our values and our objectives as a network. And these values, as you would expect, are similar to the values of our own programme, the FRC programme, and of the FRC National Forum. Our objectives align with that collective community-based response that we work from. So it's about raising awareness, it's about promoting best practice, building relationships and collaborations, influencing policy, and sustaining our network. And so far, so good, we're still here. So it is recognised and well established that best practice in responding to domestic violence and abuse involves adopting integrated community-based approaches. And the aim of community-based strategies should be to create a collective response to the safety of women. So we work from a community development principles to develop a collective response to tackle social injustice and inequalities in Irish society, and specifically in relation to women who are experiencing domestic abuse. So we do come from a gendered analysis of abuse, and while we recognise that men are also affected, the significant majority of victims are women. And this is seen in global research, which shows that in the vast majority of cases where violence occurs among persons known to each other, women are injured and men carry out the violence. And it's also very important that when we refer to violence or abuse, that this also includes coercive control, which is a key component of abuse. So I suppose from our point of view as a network, but as members of the network, we don't do this because there's any additional resources. We aren't staffed, there is no funding. So this is in addition to the work that we do already within our own projects. But I suppose we believe that there really is great power and influence in the collective. And it's only through an interagency approach, and we've heard that today in terms of our own program here. Greater education is needed, there's training, awareness and understanding that we can really tackle the issue. And we believe that as a community and collectively that we can achieve that. So as I've said, it isn't alone the responsibility of the woman, nor is it alone the responsibility of the perpetrator. This is a concern for all of us. It impacts on all of us, and it is detrimental to our society and on our future generations. So social attitudes, culture, gender roles in what is a patriarchal society are what feed the damaging and dangerous narratives and ideas about gender, and this is what perpetuates gender-based violence. And so it has to be in local communities that we have the conversations needed to challenge this, to re-educate people, to raise awareness, and I think we would all agree that FRCs are very well placed to do this and have been doing this for many years. So as a collective, we have a greater depth of knowledge, a greater depth of experience and expertise, and the collaborations and partnerships are mutually beneficial. So where there is time given and there is a lot of work involved, we do get a lot back for ourselves as our projects in terms of best practice and also for the communities that we work in. It allows us to be stronger in our message and to be more effective in the work that we do. So again, and we've talked about it today and we'll talk about it some more in the afternoon, what we do is often locally targeted, but it does span across Galway, Mayo and Roscommon and throughout the West region. But the response that we have is unified, and there's uniformity in the message and consistency in what we are trying to do. There have been many strong projects and campaigns over the years, as well as the development of some high-quality resources for community organisations. So this is just a little snapshot of some of the work over the years of the network. So some of you will remember the In Her Shoes exhibition, so where 40 volunteers came together in order to do an exhibit in Galway. And I know that would have got national traction at the time. There was the Break Free leaflet, which was updated just last year and reprinted and is now called Steps to Safety, which outlines all of the court and judicial procedures for women so that they have some succinct information in order to be able to navigate that more easily. Then the Open Doors video, so produced during COVID in order to highlight frontline services and FRCs in the region, and so that women knew that there was still support available. Then there was the Code of Practice, originally developed back in 2002 by the original members of the network, and then redeveloped in line with the legislative changes that came about in the Domestic Violence Act. And this is also available to download on the National Forum website and is suitable for all community organisations and organisations in the community and voluntary sector. Annually, as a network, we always mark the 16 days of action, and we ask, even if an FRC isn't a member of the network, we invite all of the FRCs across our region to participate in that and having a collective theme and a collective message. Most recently, we added the Go Purple Day to our calendar, a campaign with Frontline Services and An Garda Síochána. And there have been countless window displays, training days, workshops, coffee mornings, across dozens of family resource centres all around the West region. And even though they happened in individual FRCs and individual communities, they happened together and to achieve the same thing. So the most recent event we had our own national conference last year in Galway to mark 20 years of our network. And we were very fortunate on that day to have a really diverse range of stakeholders and speakers and panellists. And I see Mary McDermott was here today and she was one of them. So we were able to hear from the frontline services nationally, and it was really It was really encouraging, and we were all very proud to see the energy that that conference generated in the room. And it really was all about the approach. It was about community development. It was about community development principles and that collective community response. And you've seen in the room that day, there was a kind of a renewed energy and a determination just from the possibility and the hope and the potential that was there for all of us to come together to really be able to tackle this issue. And that needs and it requires an interagency approach, and that's something that we try to work towards together as a network. So I have a clip, so I will let them have the final word. But just to close, for our network over the coming months, we are currently working through our action plan. And as part of that plan, we are focusing on the zero tolerance, the third national strategy on gender-based violence. So again, we are always learning, and we are always trying to keep up with current policy and current research and current best practice. So we want to see where we sit as a network within that, how we align with it, and what needs to happen in communities and on the ground at grassroots to bring about the whole society change that Minister Helen McEntee has spoke about when she launched that strategy. So we will continue to challenge, and we will continue to learn from each other, ensuring that women are at the centre of what we do, and that our responses are appropriate, in line with best practice, and that we strive for excellence through training and the expertise of our frontline services. So I'm now going to play the clip from the conference, our national conference in Galway, celebrating 20 years of the community response to domestic abuse network. Thank you.
Is my name. I'm the CEO with Women's Aid, so we provide the National Domestic Violence Helpline, a range of other services, and we're also an advocacy support training and campaigning organisation. Events like today are absolutely fantastic because that whole community response, network response is really crucial if we're going to do better to support those who are subjected to abuse, but also make visible the fact that there are perpetrators in our community, and we need to have interventions that cut across all of society, everything from our legal system, employment environments, and right up to into social work, all areas. So this is really walking the talk in terms of what we need to do.
Hi, good afternoon. Adrian Kinsella is my name. I'm a Detective Inspector in the Garda National Protective Services Bureau. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of Garda Síochána to support today's event.
My name is Lynn Cahill, and I'm here today to represent the LGBT experience of domestic violence and have a chat with people around that issue. And I've been really enjoying the day so far, and I really am happy to get the opportunity to generate awareness on an issue that doesn't get a lot of attention. So thanks to all the organisers, and delighted to be here today.
Hi, my name is Barrett, and I'm the CEO with Rahama. Rahama works with women impacted by prostitution and human trafficking. I'm delighted to be here at the conference today on domestic abuse. I think the network have done an amazing job bringing all the partners, all the stakeholders together. And the premise that it's built on community development really touches, I suppose, my core, because I have a background in community development. And part of what I'm here today is to highlight the issue of human trafficking. It happens in every town, city and village across the country, and it's hidden in plain sight. So it's important to break that silence and raise awareness on what is the most heinous crime, one of the most heinous crimes in society.
My name is Tessa Collins. I work in Parker Point Trauma and Roma Centre. I'm delighted to be here at this conference today, and especially to highlight the barriers that traveller and Roma women face when leaving a violent situation, but also to be here in solidarity as well, and to be working and networking with other services and making sure that traveller and Roma women get the same outcomes as any woman living in Ireland leaving a violent situation.
Well, I'm Mary McDermott. I'm the CEO of Safe Ireland, and we are an organisation that works in research, advocacy and development in relation to domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. We are also a national network of 39 refuges and support services around the country. So we deal with frontline domestic violence issues on a day-to-day basis. And you can be sure that over the last 3 years, since 2020 with COVID, our frontline services have been pushed to the limit. But at the same token, the country as a whole has engaged very positively. Individuals, groups, communities, civil servants, politicians have really put their shoulder to the wheel on this issue, and we can see the results of that collaboration, that shared analysis, and that desire to end this toxic social problem, because it's certainly not reducible to poor personal choice. We're delighted to be here today in Galway with this networks gathering, and from the point of view of Safe Ireland, certainly the frontline services and agents working together are very important, but none of it will work without a community that is clear, competent and has capacity to act, has the confidence to do so, and that in turn needs to sit within the national frameworks fully supported by the state.